This is kind of our flagship product when it comes to lifting, or as you guys would think, Hoyer lift, right? It's like the Kleenex. And it's a very unique lift because the lifts that you've used in the past that you've had, they lift up and down like a crane, right? And when you get somebody into that lift and the crane lifts up off this chair or the bed, wherever you're lifting them, there's a lot of movement, right? There's a lot of swinging. You have the loops, you put them on the hanger bar. So from the individual that's in the lift, their standpoint, it can be kind of frightening, right? Because they're swaying and moving around. From your standpoint as the caregiver, it's also very challenging because even though you're utilizing the lift, if it's lifting up like a crane and we got to put that individual back into their chair, as we set that down, what happens? Their bottom scooches towards the front of the chair, so now we have somebody behind the chair tugging and pulling and bending, which we can hurt our back that way as well, okay? So that's why this is unique. You'll notice this does not lift like a crane, it lifts up and down like a telescope. And again, this has a 500-pound safe working load, okay? This device also goes all the way to the ground. So if we have to do, I know sometimes, specifically with this type of population, we do work on mats and on the floor and things like that. I'm not sure if we do at the house or not, but this is great to get somebody onto the floor and up on the floor. And certainly if there's a fall, which we can go ahead and get this lift and we can get our individual off the floor safely, safe for you, safe for them as well, okay? As far as it's pretty neat, right? As far as operating the lift itself, here's your hand control. We have basically 3 different functions. We have the up and down function, which is pretty self-explanatory. We have the open the legs and closing the legs of the lift, and that's obviously to get around wider chairs and things like that. And then we have the tilt function. All right, the tilt function is really another thing that makes it very unique because it allows me to take my individual from a more recumbent position and put them in a more seated position so that we can place them into their chair perfectly, again, without pulling, tugging, movement, or anything along those lines, okay? You can also operate the lift on the base of the lift as well. It has the same buttons as on the hand control. Also on the base here, you'll see an on-off switch, okay? I like to refer to this as an emergency off switch because you don't have to turn this button off. If this unit sits idle for more than a couple of minutes, it powers down automatically. So a lot of times with somebody pushing the red button, certainly it's not going to hurt, but especially when the equipment's new, I've had the phone call, the lift is broken, and it's not working. So if you go to use this and it's not working at first, just make sure the green button's pushed in. If the red button's pushed in, you won't get any power to the machine, okay? If I happen to have a mechanical failure or some sort of a problem with the lift itself and I have somebody in here, I need to get them down safely, that's what this little red hatch is for. You pop this up, you pull out the pin, and you slowly, safely, and securely put them back down to a surface, whether it be a chair or a bed or something along those lines, okay? So this is kind of our emergency lowering device on here as well. Each lift comes with 2 batteries and a charger. All right, so the idea is we'll have 1 battery sitting on the charger at all times and 1 in the machine. So when the battery gets low, I know I have 1 that's sitting on the charger that's fully charged and ready to go. On the actual hand control here, you'll see in the corner, just a moment once it resets from being shut down. See the battery? So right now the battery is pretty full, all right, because it's fully darkened. As it gets less and less charged, it'll open, then it'll flash, and it'll beep, and it'll be time to go ahead and switch out that battery, okay? Another unique feature when we talk about opening and closing the legs to get around certain things, especially in a group home, right? A lot of times we have small spaces to work within. In the old lifts, we'd have to say get around a toilet or around a chair in a tight bedroom. You'd have to open both the legs equally at the same time to get around something, which really limited us from a functionality standpoint, because if I had to get to say a bathroom where there's a toilet up close to the wall, I can't get around that. So if you look at this here, and I'm going to open the legs of the lift, if it hits a wall or an obstruction, you see how that stopped and allows the other leg to open. So now we have a lot more flexibility to be able to use this in our smaller areas, okay? All right, who wants to volunteer for me? Okay, what was your name again? Sarah. Sarah, okay. Have a seat, Sarah. And why don't we move this over here? You're on candid camera. Okay. Go ahead. Now this chair has wheels, but I don't think it'll be a problem. There's no brakes in it. Okay, so we have a couple of different types of slings. Okay, is there one more in here? Yep. Okay. Okay, so there's three types of slings, all right, that we have here. We have a mesh bathing sling or showering. Okay, so this is used for bathing and showering. It's a mesh material, so it can dry easy and the water can get through. This is a toilet sling, okay? So the toilet sling is great because instead of a regular sling where we bring the sling down and we pull it through and it kind of encompasses the bottom, this is cut at the back and out. So when we put our individual onto the toilet or commode, all we have to do is unclip the legs of the lift and the sling falls out. So we don't have to worry about getting out from underneath their bottom and then pulling it all the way and getting it back underneath the bottom to get them off the toilet. It's a lot more simple than that. So to apply this, I'll show you how to apply this if you want. It's just a little bit different because, actually, why don't I just put it on you, okay? That makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and we apply the sling the same way we'd apply any sling. We're going to bring it down the back to the coccyx area here, then we're going to pull through. Now again, because this doesn't go all the way to the bottom, around the bottom, I'm going to slide. I'm going to try to push my individual forward just a little bit to lean forward, and I'm just going to slide it down. Okay. You can go ahead and sit back. And then you're going to notice here, there's some supports under the arm on this toilet sling. And the reason we have these here is because we're cutting out a little extra support down by the bottom area. We want to just make sure that we put a little bit of extra support right here. Okay. All right, and then on the side here, we'll go ahead and we just lift this up like this. And same thing here. Just lift up the leg like this, and boom. Okay? And that's how we apply the toilet sling itself. Okay? I will put the other sling on you, because I know, sometimes my volunteers, I'll be kind to you. And have your bottom hanging out of the sling. So. Believe me, I've had to do it a bunch of times. So. Okay, so then we have the regular sling as well, all right? So you see it's a little bit different because this has the full padding where the leg's coming around, encompassing the leg itself. Also note that on these slings, we have plastic head supports. And it's very important to make sure that these come out before we launder them and they get back in. Because so many times I go to facilities who've had these and they've got slings with no head support. So what are we doing? Well, somebody's kind of supporting the head as they're doing the transfer, or worse, the head's getting no support, which can be dangerous, okay? So make sure these pop right out. There's just a little slit on the side of them. You just take them out like this, and when you're done laundering them, you just put them right back in, okay? So this again, I'm just lean you forward a little bit. I'm going to slide this down, okay? Perfect. You can sit back. All right, and then I'm just going to, again, just give it a little tug, and this is a nice padded sling, okay? Same thing here, a little tug, lift up. She's really helpful. They're always as helpful, right? Usually it's, what are you doing to me? Stop, you're hurting me, stop. Okay, so I'm going to open the legs of the lift here. Now she's in a seated position, right? So I want to get my hanger bar. And of course the hanger bar area, the wide end is where the shoulders are, and this part is down by the legs, all right, from a connecting standpoint. I'm going to move the hanger bar to a more seated position because that's the way she's seated right now, so it'll make it easier to connect the sling. I'm going to bring this down. Okay. Now there's no crisscrossing, okay? We're just going to click these in. And you're probably used to, and when you're talking to your staff, they're used to a crisscross, especially on the legs, right? But there is no crisscross. We just want to come like this on either side, like this. Click into place, all right? Now, as my individual in the sling, you can have them put their arms on their chest. They can be just like that if they want. They can hang on to the bar if they want. Just try not to have them, we don't want to have them put their hands here, okay? Ready to go?
Sure.
Notice there's no swinging, right? There's very stable lift, and now I can go ahead and do my transfer. Now, What I like to do is once I get my individual into the sling, I'll hit that button to recline a little bit, because you might feel just a little pressure under here when you're in complete seated position. So my recommendation, again, it's not painful, but pressure. So as soon as I get them up off the chair, I'll just tilt them back a little bit. That's really comfortable, right? You feel like you're in a hammock. And of course we have the flexibility, if we need to move all the way around. So if we're coming in at an angle, we need to get on the bed, we need to do something like that, we can come in from whatever angle we have to and go ahead and get them in the chair. Even some of the bigger chairs, if we can get the legs around and come in from the side, we can go ahead and do that as well. But again, this is very stable, there's not a lot of swinging, which is nice.
Definitely not like the other ones.
No. And again, the truth is, it's much easier for you as the caregiver to maneuver, and it feels much safer for the individual in the sling. So again, she's seated. We're going to go ahead and push the button. Let's move it here into a more seated position. I'm just going to set her right down in the chair. And now nobody had to stand behind there to pull the back of the sling or to get her in position. We're able to get her in a nice position back into her chair. Any questions?
Now, we usually have to have 2 staff when we use a Hoyer lift. Would you recommend still using 2 staff?
What I recommend is stick with the organizational policy, and it's not a bad idea to have 2 people. So yes, our manufacturer standards say that our lifting device can be used with 1 caregiver. But I always recommend is if you have the power there, if you have the staffing there, and it's already the policy of the organization, it can't hurt to have somebody working with the individual here while the other one operates the lift. Okay. Anything else? Thank you. How did we do?
Actually, that was a lot better. Just because I sat in the other one and I was.
Well, as soon as your bottom gets off that chair, the other